Donald Trump's vision for his second-term cabinet, we now understand it in full. The once and future president's personnel choices revealing a stark contrast with his first administration. So among Trump's picks this time, an independent with the last name Kennedy who supports abortion rights, more than one former Democratic presidential contender, a centrist Republican who is favored by the Teamsters Union, a man who fundraised for Al Gore and advised George Soros. And then, of course, there are quite a few MAGA loyalists and Fox News favorites. It all adds up to a cabinet that is united not by dogma, but by loyalty to Trump and his vision. Over the weekend, Mike Allen and Jim Vandehei writing this in Axios, quote, "Lost in the noise of Trump's most controversial picks is the simple, undebatable fact that this might be the most ideologically diverse cabinet of modern times. The team represents the Trump worldview. Traditional conservatism is dead, and its biggest lifelong advocates neutered to the point of irrelevance." A Trump transition source told us that most of the picks are a version of Trump in their thinking and approach. They're fearless disruptors who can walk into these buildings and know they have a mandate for reform and change.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about more boo-hoo, whining, and crying from the mainstream liberal media, particularly over Trump's cabinet picks. Now, I feel like this conversation around Trump's cabinet picks is extremely premature in regards to people coming to conclusions about exactly what his administration is going to do, okay? Because we really don't know exactly what they're going to do yet because none of them have been confirmed. Trump is not in office yet. And I think that smart people understand that, hey, before I come out here and start fear-mongering and boohoo, whining and crying and saying a whole bunch of things about what Trump is going to do that honestly probably won't end up happening in regards to the hyperbolic things that the liberal media is claiming that Trump is going to do, let's just wait and see, right? Let's just wait and see. You have some people in the media now saying that because they're exhausted. They're absolutely exhausted with fear-mongering about Trump 24/7. And this calls The View to erupt into a huge argument after Alyssa Fair Griffin, who is trying to change her tune after being a conservative woman, a Trump deranged conservative woman, who was telling us that, hey, Trump is the worst thing ever. He's Hitler. I work for the guy. I know it personally. And she voted for Kamala Harris. Now she's changing her tune because she sees the writing on the wall and she's saying, all right, guys, we got to chill out. We got to chill out on the Trump derangement. And let's just say that did not go too well on the View panel. Take a look.
God's honest truth, I kind of always thought Trump would win until maybe the final days just because it felt like Kamala Harris had this real momentum. But the signs were there. And I talked to, I have a very diverse friend group, family, like people who vote different ways. And I have felt like there was a yearning in this country that people wanted Donald Trump back. And the most common thing I heard this entire election cycle was, I don't like his personality, I don't like the way he talks, but my life was better when he was in office. And I'm in this position where I feel a bit unburdened by what has been. I'm going to wait and see. He's not been sworn in yet. I'm somebody who probably agrees with 75% of his policies. If he focuses on creating jobs, on bringing down the cost of living, securing the border in a responsible way, and being tough on America's adversaries, I'm all for it. What doesn't mean we're not going to call balls and strikes when he does things that are beyond the pale or he uses words that are offensive to people, then be ready to call that out. But I just think I'm kind of shying away from this sort of apocalyptic, it's all, we need to be like losing sleep over it. The American system of government is strong, it's held. There are checks and balances, even if my party's in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And I think we should I root for America, so I root for a smart, serious Donald Trump presidency.
So I think what we're all saying is we're going to sit and watch. We're going to wait and see because we can't do anything else except.
I'm not going to wait and see. I mean, this guy is told us he's a retribution. He's going to be a dictator.
There's nothing to be done until you know what you're fighting. It's pissing in the wind doesn't help. You just get a wet face.
But I have no false expectations that at 78 he's going to all of a sudden turn into another human being. And I'm not going to spend. I spent weeks telling people that he was apocalyptic. I'm not going to change now because it's still the same man.
Not treating every single thing like
I think that's when we lose credibility.
Well, here's the thing: you lose credibility in many different ways. If you don't know what you're talking about and you accuse him of something, then they're going to blow it back. That's why I say we need to wait and see exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, so in response to Ana Navarro and her talking about losing credibility because she feels like, well, I was Trump deranged before, so therefore I have to continue to be Trump deranged, even if it doesn't make any sense, right? Even if what I'm saying is hyperbolic, even if what I'm saying is something that is not grounded in reality, I'm still going to say it because I'm going to lose credibility if I don't continue to do that, right? Which I think is just a extremely dumb way of thinking about things. I think that you lose credibility when, again, you're out here saying things that are going to happen that don't happen, right? That is essentially how the whole mainstream liberal media has lost credibility over the last 8 years, right? Saying that Trump is going to do things that never actually happened, that he didn't even come close to doing, and now they have egg on their face, right? That's part of the reason why Trump won, okay, is because people realized that, oh, wait, we were lied to by the media. All this fear-mongering and stuff they did about Trump wasn't true, okay? So as you can see here, you have Alyssa Farah Griffin kind of change her tune a little bit, right? Basically say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be as Trump deranged as I used to be, even though essentially she's made a career out of backstabbing the Trump administration. They gave her an opportunity of a lifetime, and then she turned around and used that in order to smear the Trump administration. So I'm not buying this act from her, okay? But I do find it interesting that she is actually trying to give some pushback to all the Trump derangement on that panel that I think now has kind of defaulted to fear-mongering about Trump no matter what, right? They can't help it. In fact, you see this all over the media, right? Even on Joe Scarborough's show, they're still kind of being deranged about Trump, even though they know that it doesn't really help them, right? It's not helping them at all. On CNN, they're currently fear-mongering about Project 2025 just because Trump put a guy that was involved in Project 2025 in his cabinet. Yeah, they're boohoo whining and crying about that, saying that Trump is going to do a whole bunch of things that, again, probably are not going to happen. And it's at the point now where the conservatives are now just laughing, right? Conservatives are laughing and mocking these people for all of their hyperbolic fear-mongering.
But let me be very clear here. You have Project 2025, which is a piece of paper. No. But wait, David, come on. I'll give you an example of what they want to cut. They want to put lifetime benefits on Medicaid, which effectively means that if you have cancer or you're in dialysis and you hit your limit, you're out. They want to put lifetime benefits on housing, which means that if you hit them, you're homeless. So there are things in this budget that are non-discretionary, David, that you talked about, that this administration has embraced, which is why they put Russ Vought in charge of this whole enterprise to effectively eradicate things that you think are inviolable, but in fact are very much in the scope of what Donald Trump ran on and something that the people around him want to do. So it's not just a question of DOGE, it's a question of holistically what they're targeting. And they're not just targeting that rat mole museum, which God bless if that's all they want to do. But if you look at what they've talked about targeting, it is much broader than that. It actually affects people's health care. It actually affects where people live. And that's a problem. That's actually a seriously huge problem, not just for Democrats, but for some Republicans who I assume don't want to throw grandma off of dialysis because she hit her lifetime limit on her health care benefits.
Yeah, Jim, where's Daniel Dale when we need him, buddy? This is a Snopes moment. Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025.
He put Russ Vought in charge.
David, I appreciate you bringing up. I appreciate you bringing up Daniel Dale. We'll have him on sometime soon. I hope. I don't know. He might be off having turkey somewhere.
Listen,
which probably would be.
Stop, Jim. You need to say that Project 2025, the Trump administration. You need to acknowledge. Jim, you need to acknowledge that Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025.
He put the architect of Project 2025 in charge of OMB.
Right, David, I was just about to say, Donald Trump out on the campaign trail time and again disavowed Project 2025, and yet he put one of the architects. But I will say he put one of the architects of Project 2025 in charge of the Office of Management and Budget. David.
That's two different things.
You and I have talked about this before. Why not just admit that the president-elect was not telling the truth out on the campaign trail when he said he had nothing to do with Project 2025. He had no knowledge.
Because he didn't.
I mean, all of that was just a snow job, right? That was just
Jim. Why don't you just admit? Why don't you just admit that he has said that it doesn't?
That was a bigger.
It's not a blueprint
David,
for the
that was a bigger
administration.
turkey than what I'm going to have on the Thanksgiving table later this week. I'm sorry, but
come on,
come
on. Look, you guys are going to get 4 Pinocchios, both you and Julie, both. Come on, Washington Post, Daniel Dale.
For what? For what? For putting somebody in charge who wrote Project 2025?
Yeah. So Russell Vought actually served in Trump's Office of Management and Budget when he was president. He actually was confirmed as director of the Office of Management and Budget in 2020. So again, this guy is not new, right? He already worked for the Trump administration. Yeah, he may have had something to do with Project 2025, right? He may have wrote some things, but that doesn't mean that Trump is implementing Project 2025. And I mean, to be honest with you, completely honest with you, if Trump actually did, I would have a problem with it personally. I think Project 2025 is pretty good. But the good thing is that Trump has his own agenda. It's called Agenda 47, right? Agenda 47 is what Trump is doing. But again, what these people are really upset about is the fact that Trump is putting people in place that the American people largely agree with, right? And that is essentially what CNN had to admit, as the media has been fear-mongering 24/7 since Trump announced his cabinet picks, that these people are extremists, they're loyalists, they are Russian spies, they are unqualified, et cetera, et cetera. All these things they've said, right? And what has that resulted in? Well, it's resulted in the American people being more optimistic than they were before about the future of this country, and they overwhelmingly approve of Trump's transition, including his cabinet picks thus far. Take a look.
Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. He was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher. Plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people.
And, we're still on the appointment phase at this point, but it does give insight to sort of where this team is thinking to lead some of these key departments, of course. But how do people feel about the prospects of his presidency, given the context of some of these picks?
Yeah, it's not just that they like what Donald Trump is doing right now. They're optimistic for the future. So, again, let's compare ourselves now versus where we were 8 years ago. And what you see 8 years ago, 53% of Americans were scared or concerned, the majority towards the upcoming Trump term. Look at where we are now. The shoe is on the other foot. 53% of Americans are excited or optimistic. It's flip-flop, where a narrow majority 8 years ago were scared or concerned about the upcoming Trump term. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So what we're just seeing is very different numbers from where we were 8 years ago. 8 years ago, folks really were not that in love with the Trump transition. Now they are, and more than that, looking forward to the upcoming Trump term. 8 years ago, the majority were scared or concerned. Now the majority are excited or optimistic.
Wait. So you mean to tell me that all that fear-mongering from the mainstream liberal media about Trump's cabinet picks, like, for example, Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset, RFK being a crackpot conspiracy theorist, Stephen Miller being a white supremacist, Pete Hegseth being a white supremacist, right, and racist, all that fear-mongering, right, so on and so on, about Trump's cabinet picks has resulted in the American people saying, hey, you know what? I think I like it, right? I think I like those picks that Trump is making. Now, yeah, I'm not saying every pick is perfect, okay? I've already talked about how I do not like Trump's pick to be the Surgeon General, right? I'm not saying every pick is perfect, but I'm not one of these people that is going to get all bent out of shape about any one pick if I don't think it's perfect, right? Because ultimately, I'm a results type of guy. Right? These people back in 2015, 2016, fear-mongering about Trump's cabinet, okay, the same way they're fear-mongering now. And I would say that Trump's first term was actually pretty good. And I think that this current cabinet is head and heels better than his cabinet in his first administration. Like, no doubt, right? There's no doubt in my mind. And again, part of the reason why is because it is so ideologically diverse, right? In the sense that you have people from all across the political spectrum. Okay, you have super conservative people, particularly when it comes to the financial stuff, right? You have very conservative people financially there. And then on some other things, you have, Democrats who are anti-war, anti-establishment, like a Tulsi Gabbard, right? Or, an RFK. And then you got some of the normal boring picks that nobody can really be upset about, right? Like, for example, Doug Burgum being the Secretary of the Interior, right? Picks like that. Honestly, I think his cabinet is super balanced. Now, again, I think it'll be interesting to see how they develop cohesiveness, considering how there's a lot of ideological diversity. But if they're all united behind the Trump agenda, the agenda to make America first, because again, there is some agreement across the spectrum politically, right? When it comes to the anti-establishment populist left and the anti-establishment populist right, there are some agreements, right? So if they can come together on the things they all agree upon, then I think that this administration can be successful. I think it can be very successful. And I do not think that all of these things that these people are boohoo-whining and crying about is going to happen. I just don't. And I don't think the American people believe that. And I think what you're saying in regards to American people, once again, rejecting the fear-mongering from the liberal media is showing that, yeah, it doesn't work anymore, right? Like, people are not buying into it. I think it really shows you how little credibility they have at this point, that they have no sway. They have no sway over the opinions of the public, right? It's all gone. It's all gone. They didn't have sway before the election, evidenced by the outcome of the election. And now after the election, you're saying that, wait, the American people are actually optimistic about the future of the country under Trump, and they approve of his cabinet picks. Amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. And this is why you have some people like Alyssa Fair Griffin that see the writing on the wall, that are coming out and say, you know what? Maybe we should chill out on the fear mongering. Maybe we should actually give it a chance, because it seems like most people are just not buying into this anymore. Most people are just sick and tired of the constant fear, the constant hyperbole, the constant derangement. It's like, do you guys ever get tired of just hating Trump, right? Do you ever get tired of hating Trump? Because I think a lot of these people are going to look silly. I really do. After 4 years, I think a lot of these people are going to look silly when, once again, their predictions, the things they were fear-mongering about, turn out to be completely and totally wrong. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.